All right, Nick, let's talk about the Nebraska Cornhuskers. When we talk about the Huskers, one of the main things we always talk about is recruiting, and we have some excellent recruiting news for them today. I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. As I alluded to, Nick, we have some great recruiting news for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And as always, Matt Rule and co. are doing it in a very interesting and unique kind of way. Let's get into the article and we can talk more about this on the other side. The first article we have is from over on Husker Corner. It says, "Is it really happening? Is the Nebraska football team the front runner for the top offensive tackle prospect in the country? Could they be close to landing David Sanders Jr.? Not that long ago, the answer to those questions would have been, of course not. But things might have changed. At least one recruiting analyst believes they are swinging the Huskers' way. The level of the coup it would be for Matt Rule to pull this one off is hard to describe." On 3, Steve Wiltfong provided a new update on the Providence Day tackle, and Nebraska football fans should be excited. "I think people are viewing Nebraska as a real contender here with a few weeks to go," he wrote. And Nick, wondering why they might be a contender now. What has changed to potentially get them in that situation? I think his new star quarterback, Dylan Raiola, and his recruiting efforts. And we have another article to kind of highlight that. This is from Cornhusker Wire. It says the top offensive tackle in the class of 2025 will visit Nebraska this weekend. David Sanders Jr. will announce his commitment on August 17th. Quarterback Dylan Raiola has taken to social media asking fans to show up and welcome to the prospect to campus. He said, "Husker Nation, let's welcome David Sanders home to Lincoln. Meet us outside the new Tom Osborne complex at 5:15 tomorrow, Friday. Calling all Husker fans, go Big Red. I'll be picking him up at Omaha Epley at 1:30 p.m. Let's show him some love." Nick, I think this is great recruiting strategy. I think getting your top guy, Dylan Raiola, the quarterback, the guy's going to be guarded by Sanders, to get in on the recruiting, as always, is a brilliant move by Matt Rule and this Huskers team. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one, but Huskers fans, in the comments section below, let us know. We're talking about potentially one of the best prospects offensive line-wise to come through the school in quite some time. Let us know in the comment section below, though, who is your favorite Nebraska offensive lineman of all time? I think there's a lot of good potential answers in there. But let us know who is your favorite in the comment section below. But Nick, nonetheless, let's get to you. What do you think about this effort by the Huskers?
This reminds me actually of the Raiola recruiting effort where everyone was like, okay, it's a feel-good story, Raiola, Nebraska, but he's going to Georgia, right? Or he's going to go somewhere else, right? If it's not Georgia, it's going to be USC or something like that, right? He's not going to Nebraska. He's not going to commit to Nebraska. He's not going to go to Nebraska. It's not going to happen, right? That's what everybody said. All the experts said it, right? All the big people, everyone on social media said Raiola's not going to Nebraska. Then he did. Right. And now we're seeing a very similar dynamic start to play out here with Sanders. And I think we're seeing some momentum, some energy building. Right. And it's one of those things. This is how recruiting over time, you get kind of that cycle of good recruiting and energy going, good vibes. It builds on itself. And before you know it, it's out of control because it's one of these things. Young kids, these guys want these recruits. They want to go where the energy is, right? Why on God's green earth, if you back up about 5 years, was all the great recruits going to Clemson, South Carolina, in the town of Anderson, South Carolina? For anyone who's ever been to Anderson, I've been there. There ain't nothing there but the school. There's nothing, not to dismount any of the great people of the town of Anderson, South Carolina. Not a tourist destination, right? There's no real reason to go there. Why was Clemson winning national titles, but Texas and Austin was losing a lot of games? Why was USC on the West Coast losing a lot of games, right? Why is Miami struggling? All these destinations, all these great, traditionally good schools. Why were they struggling while Clemson was doing well? Because the energy was in Clemson. That's what we're seeing in Nebraska. We're seeing the energy build in Nebraska. And once that energy builds and reaches a breaking point and it's getting close, watch out, because then you're going to see not like 1 5-star, not 2 5-stars, but just a bevy of elite prospects just migrate to the school. And overnight, a team that's considered average, below average, formerly great, is going to go wham, right back into the top 10, right back in the top 5. just like Clemson did about a decade ago. That's the trajectory Matt Rule has this Nebraska program on. And that's exactly why securing the Raiola commitment, surprising everybody, was the first step. We talked about good recruiting begets better recruiting. We've seen that more and more from Nebraska over the past 12 months or so. And it continues with this move by Sanders. I honestly think when push comes to shove, I think Matt Rule pulls it off. I think he signs Sanders and he continues to build an incredible amount of energy here in Nebraska.
Yeah, Nick, and I agree with you. I think this is going to be a very interesting race. I think Nebraska coming on in the beginning, coming on strong at the end. They're the only school that hasn't gotten a second visit from Sanders yet. And I think it speaks volumes to, as he's done his rounds, he already visits Nebraska once. He goes to all these other schools. He visits them a couple of times, but now he's coming back. He's like, all right, I went everywhere. Where do I really want to play? I want to give my, my best efforts, my last efforts to one school I think is really interesting. Now he's coming back, do his final visit up at Nebraska. He's going to, make his statement here not too long from now. But I think that speaks a lot about Nebraska. After going to all these schools, like you said, after going to the Georgias, the Clemsons of the world, programs that have done a lot of really great things. Nebraska has as well, but we're talking about recent memory. He's decided to come back to Nebraska and look at this program one more time. I think that says something really special about the Cornhuskers. And I really think, like you said, this is a Raiola-esque get right here. This is the kind of thing that Matt Rule does. He lures these guys in, not in a bad way, in a way that, he makes them feel like family, makes them feel wanted. He makes them feel like they are going to do something special at Nebraska. Now, as we can see, I think that they are doing something special, and I think the potential to get a guy like Sanders Jr. is one of those special things that we're going to see very soon.